Hi everyone, I'm Jerry Marcello, and welcome to the City Center podcast from West Palm Beach. Most people will agree that drinking water is perhaps the most important resource for any town or city. But most residents don't know where their water comes from or what it takes to get it from its natural state to the kitchen tap. Today, we're going to explore how West Palm Beach gets its water and the technology that's used to make it pure for you to drink. Joining us today is Victor Carosi, the Director of Public Utilities for the City of West Palm Beach. Victor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Okay, so without water, do we have a city?
No, not at all. It's the most important part of the city. It's the lifeblood, water, definitely.
So, okay, and I would assume that every city has a different way of getting water, whether it's a well or from a lake. How do we get our water?
It's an interesting question. I've only been with the city for just under 2 years now, but in that short tenure, I've learned quite a bit about our water. We refer to it as the journey of our water. What I've learned, and I think it's truly amazing, you'd ask, without a city, without water, where would the city be? Well, actually, that goes back to as early as 1894 with Henry Flagler and his East Coast Hotel Company, when they established the first public water supply here from Clear Lake. And to this day, Clear Lake is still our main source of water. That's where we draw our water from to do our treatment. So as the city started to develop back from the 1800s to now, the water system has been part of that and part of that growth.
So at that time, the water was drawn from, and the original first source was Clear Lake.
Yes.
Which is now sort of like in the middle of the city between Australian and I-95 and all sorts of activity.
It is. It's sort of the welcome, if you will, to the city as well. When you come down Okeechobee, you've got the beautiful palm trees lining your way, and you've got the lake on your sides, and that's part of it. So that's part of West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach has grown along the ways with that lake always being there.
Right.
But it's not only that lake. Later on, the city recognized that source alone wouldn't be enough, and it started to develop Grassy Waters Preserve. And I think that's really the key to us now, is the relationship and how our water comes to Grassy Waters, and from Grassy Waters Preserve, we have a canal system now that brings and feeds into Clear Lake.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about Grassy Waters, because a lot of people think of Grassy Waters and think recreation, hiking, walking, and it's like a little preserve. It's much more than that.
Yeah, it is. It's much more than a preserve, and it's not little. It's about 23 square miles of preserve.
Wow.
And it is also, because it's been so well preserved and has such a long history with the city, it was largely missed the development boom that came through the city. So what you see in Grassy Waters is part of the original Everglades. They tell me that it's pretty much untouched, and that some of the land formations, some of the species over there are parts of the original. So it's really a wonderful story how that has been able to remain and be part of our water story for so many years.
So Grassy Waters is sort of like a time machine. It's like a little capsule of what was there before development took place.
Yes. There are different tours that we do out at Grassy Waters, and it's part of the history that some of our naturalists at the Grassy Waters talk about, and showing some of the unique features of the Floridian ecosystem, including areas where there are different rises or ridges, and how that they could talk about how years ago that was different levels of water that might have been present. And it's all part of the ecosystem that we have here, and we're very lucky to have Grassy Waters as one of our main sources of fresh drinking water.
And for those folks who don't really know, the location of Grassy Waters is fairly far flung. It's out west. It's all the way up near North Lake Boulevard, and it's quite a throw, but it's still part of the city.
Yes, our city does reach out that way. So the city extends beyond what people generally consider our downtown area, and does push west out towards North Lake Boulevard, and as far west as, I guess, Grassy Waters is probably its western, western end.
And with the size of the preserve that you mentioned, that's almost like half the size of the city.
When you look at it on a map, it's pretty encompassing, isn't it? Yes.
Okay, so we start with this beautiful preserve being the source of water. Now, is it a well or is it surface water? What are we drinking?
So we drink what's called surface water. The water here is not from a well. Generally, it comes from rainwater, and with the Grassy Water, it's also known as a catchment area. So by design, it just draws the rainwater into it, and we're able to capture that rainwater in Grassy Water, and then through a canal system, we move that water from Grassy Waters down through the city to over to Clear Lake.
Okay, so let me stop you there. So it's not like there's a group of pipes that are pushing this water from Grassy Waters down towards Clear Lake. There are natural, or there are canals.
Well, it's a canal. It's not natural, though. We call it the M Canal.
So it's man-made.
It's a man-made canal. I can't tell you when it was dug or how, but it's a man-made canal that brings water from Grassy Water over to, actually goes first into what we call Lake Mangonia.
Right.
And then from Lake Mangonia, there's also a channel that goes and brings that into Clear Lake. So our water system, as we talked about earlier, is a surface water system. It's not well-based. It's not deep down from an aquifer, but I could talk more about that later. But right now, it's a surface water system, which is one of the very few in Florida. Most of the water systems in Florida are aquifer-based, whether there's the Biscayne Aquifer, which is like from areas south of us, or locally there's the Floridan Aquifer, which is quite a large aquifer underground water. And then there's other well surfaces that they call the surficial. That's more of a shallower well system.
Okay, so there are probably people who think that this part of Florida is nothing more than the sandbar. You're saying that we have an aquifer system how far down? So
pretty far down. This thing called the Floridan Aquifer, and again, I'm nowhere near an expert in this, but
that's fine.
The Floridan Aquifer is actually quite an extensive underground trapped water, if you will.
Yeah.
It's very deep underground, 1,200, 1,500 feet down underground.
Whoa.
And it's far-reaching, meaning its influences here in South Florida, and its ranges quite a ways up through the state, even touching into parts of Georgia. And from what I've been told is that this is a trapped water. In other words, it's old water that has been in there, and it's because of the natural soil types that the aquifer is largely untouched from other influences of other water that might have normally seeped through the ground. That this, based upon the geological formations, this is a good source of quality fresh water. It does have some salinity to it, so I'm using the term fresh to distinguish it from salt of the ocean, but there is some salinity associated with it, but it's generally, we can remove some of that salt from it.
Now help me with some definitions here. Now we talked about fresh water, we've talked about salt water. This water that you're describing here almost sounds like it might be brackish.
That's the way it's generally termed, brackish water, yes.
Okay, so it's a mixture.
It's a mix of salt and fresh water. Okay. Again, the terminology tends to how much salt is dissolved in that water, and it's the relative scale. In this brackish, I believe it's somewhere around 1,200 milligrams versus the ocean, which is like 36,000. So there's this matter of scale differences.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we're talking about water that's deep, deep underground. We're not necessarily drinking that right now, right?
Correct.
Okay, we're drinking surface water.
We are drinking surface water right now, and a little bit more about our surface water.
Yeah.
The surface water we also have is we also include Lake Okeechobee, because it is also a source of our water. So there's a lot of effort to protect and to clean Lake Okeechobee and make sure that water has as many pollutants removed from it, and there's a lot of efforts to restore the Everglades. But part of that water also does come to us, and the city has canals that reach all the way out towards Lake Okeechobee, and several different methods of moving that water from Lake Okeechobee through our canal system, ultimately getting its way to Lake Mangonia, as I mentioned, into Clear Lake. So again, that's part of our surface water system. We generally, due to obviously water quality issues, rely as much as we can on Grassy Waters. But we have to recognize that there are certain limitations, because Grassy Waters is generally sourced from rainwater. So we're very happy that it's beginning to rain finally. Our wet season is upon us. But as we know, just recently, if you were out at Grassy Waters, you see how dry it was, unfortunately. So we have a seasonal dependency on the rains. And it is a challenge because we're always trying to manage our water resources as best we can to make sure we provide the highest quality water to all of our customers, our residents, and those that come to visit West Palm Beach.
Quality of water. Now, there may be folks at home who are saying, well, that's really nice, the rainwater and all, but once it's on the ground, there are bugs, there are stuff that gets into the water. What is the process now that we bring the water all the way to the city, that we now clean it and we prepare it for distribution to residents?
Well, even before we get to that point, with our water, one of the great parts about the city is its protection of what we call the watershed. So we have a team of staff that routinely monitors our canal. As you can imagine, it's a long canal. It stretches roughly from almost as far as the lake itself. There's a small, we call it another canal called the L8 tieback. But anyway, there's a canal that comes directly from Lake Okeechobee that we tie into, but it's about 25 or 28 miles west of here. But from there, we have our canal that comes all the way through. So it comes through, the Loxahatchee area, through the acreage, and it makes its all the way down through many different developed communities. So there's certain challenges there. So we have a team that is constantly looking at this canal, making sure there are no pollutants getting into it. We look at water quality. Again, what we're trying to do is what we can to capture that water, make sure there are no issues before it even gets to us. But yes, once that water comes into our lake, into our Lake Mangonia, into our Clear Lake, we do treat that water. And it's an interesting treatment process. We have our water treatment plant, bringing back to Mr. Flagler. That's where it was first established. In fact, there's a building, one of the buildings still remains on site that goes back to one of the early constructions back in the early 1920s, that is when that treatment plant was first constructed. We use what's called a lime softening system. It basically uses lime as its main initial treatment to enhance the water to be able to remove any types of pollutants that might be in that water, and we're talking mainly certain bacteria that might come into it. Luckily the water itself is not heavily chemical laden or anything like that, so we're pretty again blessed with generally a high quality sourced water. It starts better than a lot of others to begin with, and our system then uses a series of settlement basins and things like that to remove silts, remove sediments, treat some of the bacteria.
Okay, so we were removing the sediments, we're removing bacteria. What else do we have there? I know that there is some very high tech equipment that's in place to help prepare the water.
Yes. So as our water moves along different treatment processes, one of our final processes is something that we're very proud that back in 2019 the city was among the first municipalities to create, is an UV or ultraviolet light disinfection system. This is an interesting approach. The challenge we always have in water is making sure all the different pathogens are removed from water. And we try to limit the amount of chemical. So by utilizing a light source, ultraviolet light, it's been found that light at a certain amount of energy is able to remove pathogens, remove certain bacteria from the water. And we use that in combination with hypochlorite to provide for disinfection. But it's a great system, high intensity light bulbs, and it just literally just shines through the light in a stainless steel vessel, and it's great for removing a lot of potential pathogens from the water.
So not only do we make an effort to sanitize the water and make it as a clean water that already started as pretty clean, but we make it even cleaner. I assume that there's a lot of testing that goes on to make sure that indeed it's up to snuff. Is that the case?
Yes. Among the different staff that we have, we talked earlier how we have a whole department that's dedicated to monitoring our water, the transport of our water through our M Canal. We also have laboratory personnel, and the lab does testing of water. We do a lot of testing. It's EPA required, health department required. There's a series of processes. They might monitor the water as it comes in. They're going to monitor our treatment processes, but also every single day we take various samples of the water from many different points within what we call our distribution system. In other words, from the buried pipes, from the pipes that are out in front of people's streets, all throughout our community. We have almost 500 miles of pipe, and there are, don't recall the exact number of samples that are taken every day, but we're very much on top of making sure that the water is safe to drink, and that the samples are proving that it's safe to drink, and that we have the right balance of chemical out of the water and in the water for disinfection as we might need throughout the system. So it's a everyday process. We have staff on board 24 hours, 365 days a year that are doing these types of analyses.
What happens if a resident has questions about maybe their water smells funny, or they have a question about it? Is there anyone they can call to get further information?
Yes, actually, that's part of our customer service and our outreach to our residents and to our customers. We always encourage people to call if you have any questions, and we bring them, depending on what the nature of the call might be. Our laboratory personnel actually will talk to someone on the phone, will explain what the situation may or not be. We also do house calls. We will go out to people's homes, we'll take samples there. Yeah, we'll see what it is. Yeah, we take our water safety serious, and we want to make sure that we are providing the best we can to our residents. So it's not uncommon for us to actually go to somebody's home, draw a sample from their home, it might be, take a look and try to understand what the situations might be. We do find sometimes some interesting situations. Most of the situations come up with a problem within somebody's own internal plumbing. You know, many homes are older here, and sometimes things just aren't connected the way they should be. Older pipes, or you might have a hot water tank that may be slowly failing. Some people have seen like discolored water, brown sludges in their water, and sometimes it's from something's happened within their own home plumbing. But we're more than happy to get out there, talk to people, and help them feel at ease that the water that we deliver to them is safe to drink.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I also understand that a lot of the data that your team accumulates proving the quality of the water is also available on the city website.
It's not only on the city website, but we also have to upload all our data to health department sites. So we have our data. It's available. It's publicly available, and we want to show everybody how good we are.
Sure enough.
The other thing I should mention on that data is actually its timing is actually perfect on this, because we have just recently released what we call our water quality data. It's a water quality report, and it's every year. We're required, as all utilities across the country are required, to publish our information about all the testing that we've done, information about the system, its performance, and it's an extensive list of analyses that is provided to the public. It is now on our website. And this is required by our health department to produce, and it's out there. Again, it's where you want to show everybody what drinking water is, what the quality of your drinking water is, and we're proud to say our water is safe and quality drinking water.
And the information is available, complete transparency, crystal clear for anyone to come and get.
Yes.
That's fantastic. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, but let's look to the future. We have a future where we see the population of our city growing on a fairly accelerated rate. We're using up more water. What advice do we have for residents now as far as water conservation and preserving the resources that we currently have?
Well, we always ask people to conserve water. Without a doubt, it's just good practice. It's expensive to produce that water, and the more we can conserve, the better everybody is. One of the greatest things people can do is recognize where water usage or waste may occur. The city has an interesting program to help residents replace toilets. Believe it or not, a simple thing as a toilet wastes a lot of water. The older toilets needed a lot more gallons per flush. Newer toilets have been redesigned and are much more efficient in their use of water. And through our Office of Sustainability, we have partnered with some of the local big box stores to be able to offer discounts or vouchers to help people offset the cost of replacing those toilets. And we found that that's a significant savings to residents. And by the way, savings means not only are you saving water, but you're also saving money, because that water does cost money. And for every gallon that comes into the house, you have to pay for, and as well as to help support the sanitary side of things, you're also charged for that water leaving. So if you can reduce the amount of water you use in your home, there's a savings that you're doing on your own, as well as helping to overall conserve water. The other issue, right now I know it's raining, but irrigation. Another interesting program that the City Office of Sustainability has is helping people to recognize better irrigation practices, whether it's trying to use more native Floridian type of plants that may be more acclimated to the weather and not need as much water, or also making sure that irrigation systems are properly set up, have timers on them, and especially are aware, with the rain gauge, so that you're not watering when it's raining out.
I don't know how many times I've driven by a neighbor's house and there's this huge fountain of wasted water pouring onto the sidewalk and down the drain. So these things need to be maintained and controlled so that we keep the water that we have and we preserve our resources into the future.
Definitely. So however we can conserve water, we always are proponents of doing that conservation efforts, but also still looking forward and looking ahead. Our system right now has the capacity to deliver about 47 million gallons of water today. We're not at that. We don't need to deliver that much right now. The populations that we have and our usage patterns give us about, on average, between 35, 36 million gallons a day. And that's not only here for the city of West Palm Beach, but recognize that the city of West Palm Beach, and going back to our history, also is a sole provider of water to the town of Palm Beach and to the town of South Palm Beach. So when we're talking about our water, it's not just the city of West Palm Beach. When I use the word our, I'm also including the residents that we provide to water in the town of Palm Beach as well as the town of South Palm Beach.
Wow. So we not only serve our own residents, but a huge part of the barrier island as well.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to back to our history of Mr. Flagler,
right.
As well as I understand the town being established initially as a place where people could seek refuge and from the cold northern winters and were down, and how that kind of developed, and then as that grew, then the West Palm Beach also grew, and along the way this whole water system grew.
Well, those are all smart things for us to do today to conserve our water. What are our plans for the future? What things can we do to make sure that in the far-flung future, we always have the water that the city needs?
Well, thank you. It's a really an important question for people to understand and know. There's so many changes happening out in the world right now. What we'd like to do in a water business is make sure we have resiliency and that we are always prepared. We have plenty of supply right now, so even with the changes that are happening within the city, people may see new buildings going up. We're in a good position. We have ample supply for us under normal conditions. Again, they're always Mother Nature might always throw a little curveball at us, but we really don't want to just sit back on that. We still are always planning and looking into the future. One thing that we're working on right now is to seek a permit from the South Florida Water Management District to take advantage of, we mentioned earlier, the Florida Aquifer, this deep well, we'll say, of water supply. What we want to do is we want to be able to access that water for our residents and make sure, again, that our long-term supply is varied. Well, Grassy Water is a great opportunity, and it's really a pristine supply, but we know that things may be changing. Weather patterns might be different in the future, and we don't want to have all of our water for our growing communities reliant upon a single source. So we'd like to access and develop the Floridian Aquifer as a secondary source and be able to utilize that to help make our supply a more resilient supply, a more robust supply. And to do that, though, it's going to require some new treatment techniques as well. We talked earlier about how we're utilizing UV light, ultraviolet light, as part of our disinfection process. And back in 2018, when that came online or so, it's great technology. We're still utilizing that. But we also are going to look into exploring membrane technology. People may have heard of reverse osmosis. It's a type of treatment. We're going to be exploring that to utilize with our Floridian aquifer, because as we talked earlier, the aquifer is brackish, and a membrane technology with a reverse osmosis type of treatment is the current state of the art for helping to remove the salinity from that water and make that water safe to drink. So we're exploring that as a secondary option for us, so we can be able to draw water from the Floridian aquifer, and we might be able to say, hey, we're going to utilize that, and maybe we'll taper back a little bit of what's coming out of Grassy. We want to be able to provide options so that we can have the high quality, robust supply for our residents here in the city of West Palm Beach, the town of Palm Beach, and South Palm Beach, and others that might need it as we go into the future. We want to really make sure that we are the well-positioned with state-of-the-art technology for everybody.
Well, those are very elaborate plans, a very exciting future.
Thank you. Yes.
So let's talk about where people can find out more information, because we didn't touch upon that before. There's information about Grassy Waters, both its role in the water system, but also how people can enjoy it. That's on the website at WPB.org. Yes. And also there's a significant information that you guys provide about the latest testing and the water quality reports, also available on the city website.
Yes.
Now, is there a number that someone can call if they have any questions about water? I know that we have a main number that people can call, which is 561, sorry, that's a different area code, 561-822-2222. And do you have another number?
Actually, that's the main number. That really gets you in here into the city, and you can always move your way through that system. But 822-2222 is a good number. This way it gets us into our customer service center, and from there our representatives can definitely help people.
Excellent, excellent. Victor, again, thank you so much for this information, taking the time to explain all this to us. And again, thank you to your team for all that they do to provide the high quality water that the city needs.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry. And again, thank you to our team. Without them, we would be nowhere. So it's the team of workers here at the City Public Utilities Department, and thank them for the work they do every day. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to today's discussion. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a moment to subscribe so that you can see more content. The City Center podcast is produced by the City of West Palm Beach Communications Department. I'm Jerry Marcello, and we'll see you next time.